Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you from the healthyamerican.org, streaming live, and it's Thursday. It is already October 2nd, and it's 2025. And I want to do a couple of things on this broadcast. I want to talk to you about why am I doing this? That's the question that I get from a couple of subscribers here and there, where they'll say to me, you know what, Peggy, you were really good about all the COVID stuff, and you really helped me keep my job without getting the jab. And you really opened my eyes to Bob Kennedy and his bamboozle and the bait and switch, and so on and so forth. But when I start to question things about Charlie Kirk, for example, or I start to question things about these mass bang bang events that we see, suddenly, and it's only a few people, but it's interesting that the very people that I thought were going to be able to read between the lies, for example, this new collaboration that Trump has with Pfizer, the very people that I thought would be outraged by the continuing bamboozle that is inflicted upon us. It's like these are the people that are saying, Peggy, you're off your rocker. What are you even talking about? As if only my powers of discernment can only be applied to COVID. They can't be applied to Israel. They can't be applied to the Vatican. Let's see, what else bent people out of shape? Oh, Elon Musk. Don't go questioning his ethics or morals or lack thereof. Friends, it's the same playbook. Just fill in the grand blank. And those who have been watching my videos know what I'm talking about. So I want to talk about why I'm even doing this. And I'm going to share with you just a couple of things that I actually wrote up on Substack to get my thoughts in order. And then I also want to talk about why would they do this? Why are they doing this? And you can fill in the grand blank with whoever they are, the evildoers, the bad guys. Call them the Illuminati, the Jesuits, the Freemasons, they go by so many names, and they probably even have handlers. I doubt the Freemasons are behind all of this. I don't really give them that much credit. But all of that occult and magic and black arts and demons and Satan worship, all of that you can kind of throw into the same bucket. And it is a bucket, and you should have your vomit bucket handy. Probably not today. I'm not going to do anything too outrageous. What I am going to do is thank the sponsor. Now, I have not run any sponsor messages over any of my coverage on Erica Kirk and Charlie Kirk because I wanted to get right to the heart of the matter. The fact is, this is my full-time job, and YouTube does not monetize my videos. I get zero money from YouTube, and I don't do this for money, but it does cost me money to do this. I don't have another job because I devote all of my time in your service to help you read between the lies. And so I do have a longtime sponsor, and I do want to bring them a message. So we are going on over to noblegoldinvestments.com. And this may or may not be for you, but here's where you can get the information. And let me pull up the message here. So you have seen, let me share my screen actually so we can go on over to Noble Gold here. And I'm sure that you have seen that gold basically is going mainstream. You are seeing it everywhere, and prices keep climbing. And every day, more and more Americans are catching on to the power of gold. So how do you actually take advantage of it? How do you invest in a way that is safe, that's simple, and that's built for the long run? And friends, that's where Noble Gold Investments come in. I know the CEO. I've interviewed him on this channel, and I would love for you to check out what they have here. And they've got specialists that are trained to help investors just like you go from confused to confident, from wondering like what's next, knowing exactly what to do. So whether you want to roll over a 401k, they can help you with that. If you want to get a gold IRA, or if you actually want the physical coins or gold bars, if you want those, and they will ship them directly to your home. So they make the process simple, safe, and stress-free. You'll get step-by-step guidance, you'll get transparent pricing, and you will get a US-based service, a US-based team that will provide you with the service and answer your questions. They've done over $2.5 billion in precious metal transactions. So you can go to Noble Gold Investments. You can protect and grow your wealth. And when they will help you, it's not just their job, it is their commitment. And you can get a free wealth protection kit when you go to noblegoldinvestments.com. Just sign up for it there on the website. There is a promotion that they have for your qualified accounts. You'll get one 10-ounce silver American flag bar and a 1-ounce silver American Eagle proof coin. I think that is the coolest thing. So Noble Gold Investments helps you build a stronger future. If you're interested in that, you can check out the link that I have for you. I'll add that to the description box, or you can just give them a call. I have the number here for you as well. 877-646-5347. I'm required to give a disclaimer that every investment carries a risk, right? Stock market, gold, real estate, and there's never any guarantee of any kind. And of course, past performance doesn't indicate future performance and all that jazz. So check it out if you're interested over at noblegoldinvestments.com. All right, friends, let's talk about why I do what I do. And, you can bring on all the naysayers, and there are some. There's always just a handful of people that don't quite see what's going on. And the best thing I can do is to continue to educate them, and to do so in a very factual, logical, step-by-step manner, which is why I spend every waking hour working on my Substacks, doing the research, pulling together these videos. I'm a very ambitious person. I'm a very energetic person. And I frankly don't know anyone who is producing the amount of content that I am without any script writers and producers. And, I've got a computer and a light. I don't even have a camera. I mean, I'm just basically doing this on my own. I've got my lovely moderators here in the chat that help me also out of the goodness of their own heart. And I do have Erica. I'm sorry, not Erica. That is on top of mind. I did have an assistant, Erica, back in the old days when I was at the university. Olivia helps me with some of my correspondence. And the fact of the matter is, I'm putting out a Substack for you nearly every day, a video for you every weekday. And there's so much that I want to cover. So I want to thank you, first of all, for being a subscriber and for being with me through all of the content that I do. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact, I'm going to depart from my usual content and bring you some health-related content. But right now, I really want to thank you because I appreciate you being on board. And I really appreciate all of the emails that you send me. I've really been inundated with hundreds and hundreds of emails on a daily basis from all of my healthy Americans who are sending me links to Substacks and videos. They're sending me their own analysis of the situation. I've shared some of those emails on the show. And right now I am dealing with just organizing this massive amount of information that I'm working through. Luckily, I love to research. I love to solve puzzles. I just love to make sense out of things that seem confusing. And that's what I've done my entire life as an educator. I love to take what seems complicated and maybe even contradictory and simplify it, identify the key things, and then express it in such a way that it's easy to understand. And I think that's why it does trouble me a little bit when people don't get it, or they don't want to take the time to actually be presented with a different point of view. When I do my content about dealing with difficult people or standing your ground without losing your mind or speaking your mind without losing your mind, a lot of what I do is based on an interactive situation. But on the YouTube channel, it's very much one way. I'm presenting information. In person, I would say things like, would you like to hear my perspective on that? Or I've dug into that a little bit. Would you like to hear what I found? And I normally like to have those questions offered before I give my information so that the door's just not shut in my face. But here on YouTube, it's a one-way street, and people click on the channel like you have to find out what my opinion is on breaking news or on these things that just don't add up. And there have been, and for a long time, not just these last few weeks, there has been just a relentless number of news stories about these mass events. And I've covered a number of them on this channel. In fact, they start to get, one after the other, one after the other. I've done the CEO shooting of United Healthcare. And even if you go back and watch that video, you'll see that a lot of what I'm talking about in terms of critical thinking and reading between the lies is going to help you personally, whether or not you care about the news, whether or not you care about these assassinations. It's going to help you in your own life to make sure that you're not being betrayed, bamboozled, duped, and swindled. And that's why I'm doing it. In fact, I want to share with you, I want to read a couple of my notes because I want to stay on track here. So this actually was published in my Substack that just came out when I provided more information about this Mormon church shooting in Grand Blanc, Michigan, that just doesn't add up. And in fact, Mark, Healthy American, emailed me and he said, please keep up the great work on the live action role play, right? Because that's what we're seeing basically. He calls them scams to foment the gun grabs. He writes, I have actually convinced multiple family members that these events are kabuki theater. Okay, I can't use the H word here, but it basically is like hogwash is what I call it, based in large part due to your excellent research. Thank you. People have asked me, Peggy, how can your channel still be on YouTube? Well, I have had so many strikes over the years. Back in the cooties days, which is why I come up with my own language to communicate. So when people say all those gestures that I'm pointing out are meaningless, no, they're not. They're done intentionally, just like my language is done intentionally so that I can speak the truth without tripping the algorithm. So I'll say things like cooties instead of COVID. I'll say things like, hogwash instead of another word that starts with an H and then is spelled with an O and ends with an X, ES. I don't use those words because I have gotten strikes from YouTube because of that language. And when you get a strike, you can't upload for a week and then it's 2 weeks and your channel is on the chopping block. So I want to protect you, my subscribers. You come here to this channel day in and day out, and I appreciate you doing so that we can actually have like our support group, because a lot of you say to me, Peggy, I try to talk to my friends and family about this and they think I'm crazy. But when I come onto this channel, I can connect with other people in the chat and in the comment section. And by the way, if you are a paid subscriber on the Substack or you've sent a donation, you can join me in the monthly webinars where they're completely uncensored. You can ask me questions live and I answer those in a very interactive format. That's coming up this Saturday. We do it the first Saturday of every month at 4 p.m. And I value you, which is why I do that as my thanks for your financial partnership. So the fact is, people really appreciate the opportunity to be in a situation where they can share perspectives, even if their perspective is different. That's what I love about my core audience is you are tactful, you're savvy, you're sophisticated, you're supportive. We don't have people doing personal attacks on each other because of a comment that they made. And they just don't stay long here at the Healthy American because I've got a sophisticated audience and I want to protect you by keeping this channel going. And that's also why I always talk about the Substack, which is peggyhall.substack.com, because if this channel ever goes down, where are you going to find me? You're going to find me at the Substack. And that's where you can go. So don't put any www, just put peggyhall.substack.com. So the reason why I do what I do, the reason why I'm even covering these orchestrated events, because trust me, friends, I don't like watching the news. I don't watch the news. I will look at news clips on YouTube to do my research. And here is why. I want you and me, I want us to be able to spot the oddities and the anomalies that are cropping up in all of these news stories. And you may say, well, why do you want to do that? Why don't you just turn off the news and go along your merry way and, do all the things that you like to do in your life? And I ask myself that question quite a bit because there are things that I like to do in my life. I actually, aside from researching and doing YouTube, I have a family, I have friends. I have thousands of friends now through YouTube. I like to do things outside of the YouTube channel, but my overriding desire is to help educate and empower and encourage you to not feel powerless in the face of all of these orchestrated events. And that literally keeps me up at night. I have sometimes it's difficult for me to fall asleep. We're going to talk about sleep tomorrow, give you a sneak peek. We'll talk about some ways that you can get a good night's sleep and why that's so important and how the headlines steal that from us. But I'm constantly thinking about ways that I can communicate better, that I can get my ideas across. Sometimes I use snark, and many people respond to that because having a little humor can actually break down some of the walls for people that just don't get it. So that sometimes is an approach I take. Sometimes I take more of a scholarly approach where I'm just educating. And when I talked about the tariffs, I tried to be very, kind of like I was a university professor or something, because that was the other thing. People cannot wrap their head around the damages that tariffs create. So you know what? I've lost subscribers, and it's no loss to me. It's a loss to them that they are missing out on this education and information that I provide for free and willingly and eagerly on a daily basis. So recently, with the Charlie Kirk incident, which, by the way, I will remind you, there was no bullet recovered, no ballistics report, no body was buried. In fact, who knows if a body was even seen? There was no medical report, so I can only conclude that there was no shooter and no shooting if I look at the facts as we saw them. People don't like to face the reality of what they were shown on the media might not match up with what they believe, especially if it was a conservative Christian. How could a Christian do that? I'm not going to cover that in this broadcast. I've done it before. I'll touch on it just a little bit, but suffice it to say that these incidents are often not what they are presented to be. Why would you not believe the media on all of these other things? We've talked about COVID and the vaccines. There, I'm even saying it, cooties and the cocktails and all of the other things that you've seen. And suddenly you're going to trust everything that's shown to you in this incident or others. So why do I even care whether you get it or not? I do care because I am a compassionate person, and it affects all of us, believe it or not, because when people are gullible and they believe what they're shown, and that's not even the worst part. The worst is when they are living in fear and they are traumatized and terrorized with these orchestrated events, because that's why they're there. They're designed to create confusion and fear and terror. Why? Because fearful people are more easy. They're more easily controlled. And we saw it with cooties. People that you thought were level-headed, rational people completely gave over their rights and their freedoms to the government. They closed their businesses even though there was no law requiring them to do so. Many people stood up, and that's probably how I got to know a lot of you. But I have a lot of new subscribers on the channel now with my coverage of Charlie Kirk, and I want to welcome everyone. And some people said, why are you talking about this? Your channel is about health. Well, it's called The Healthy American because back in the cooties days, we were told that we were sick and we didn't know it. And we had to have a test that tests for nothing to see if you were sick with something that doesn't exist. And so in defiance, I called the channel The Healthy American. And we are healthy in mind, body, spirit. So yes, I do cover some health-related topics, but it's more about truth and freedom and how to read between the lies so you're not bamboozled. And I care about this because when a large swath of the population watches this on the news and they fall for it and they live in fear, they are going to more easily accept what they normally wouldn't accept at all. That's why you can see that these events related to the bang bangs usually happen in states where there's a lot of freedom related to this. For example, Utah, basically, there's hardly any gun laws there at all. Michigan, a big hunting state, there were not very many gun laws until the shooting at Michigan State University. And I want to thank those who pointed out I made a mistake when I was talking about the hat and the colors. But the point is, Michigan State, it was a Michigan State University hat and logo. I thought it was interesting that he wore that because there was a shooting at Michigan State University. And right after that happened, the legislature in Michigan enacted the red flag gun laws, which means you can just tell authorities that you think somebody is going to commit a crime and they can take away their guns. So we don't have constitutional laws anymore. We have mind reading. So this happened. And it was probably forced through. You know, and I know that a lot of these shenanigans happen and we can't even trust the public serpents, as I call them. But the point is, these events make it easier for the bad guys to inflict and impose all of the agenda items on their to-do list. You've seen it and I've seen it. So that's why I speak out about this. If more and more people can understand that what they're shown is done intentionally for nefarious reasons, then more and more people can stand up and put pressure on the public serpents, even if that's going to do anything. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but at least we can stand in our own integrity knowing that we didn't have the wool pulled over our eyes. So the evildoers want people to accept whatever solution it is that they've come up with in advance. And as we've seen, people are willing to do it. So with the Charlie Kirk incident, people now are going to be more willing to accept QR codes at the county fair. Yes, that's happening in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's going to be drones surveilling you and taking pictures of you. How do you like them apples? Well, I guess conservative Christians don't mind because it's all in the name of Charlie, their savior. Oh, you didn't hear? He died for you. That's what the pastors are saying. Yes, it is blasphemous. And I will speak out against the pastors. And I have, and I will continue to do so. Many of you are asking for my content about Jack Hibbs. I believe that was taken down off YouTube. It probably still lives on BitChute. And that was in the time of talking about what was going on in Gaza, with the Palestinians, and how he basically was chuckling about it, sort of saying they got what was coming. A pastor is going to say that? So yeah, no, I have no respect for Jack Hibbs or others of his ilk. And if you want to see my trendy pastors video, I'll probably redo that. And I've got all the signs and symbols of these pastors, and they're all in the club. So I can't stand it when these people that we're supposed to trust and look up to are betraying you. And I hope that you're angry about that as well. That's healthy. It's righteous anger. God says we are supposed to hate what he hates. We're supposed to hate evil, and I do. And God calls us to expose evil, and I am. Every once in a while, there'll be someone coming on the channel saying, Peggy, that's so unchristian of you. Well, I don't know what Bible you're reading, because the Bible says we're supposed to expose the evildoers. And that's exactly what I do. So as you know, whatever comes next out of these incidents are going to be stripping away more of your rights, or having people give up their rights and their freedoms and kind of do it willingly. So we've got the unconstitutional gun grabs going on. There will be more in Michigan. It will be happen in Utah. I guarantee it. So if you live in a state like Florida, where there are where there are very few unconstitutional gun laws, is what I'm trying to say, as it should be, these are probably the places where they will pull these shenanigans again to sway the public opinion so that they'll be more willing to accept it. I just mentioned in the county fair, they're going to be tracking you in Tulsa with drones. They're going to be taking your picture. They're already doing it at the airport. I never see anybody opt out. I really want to make t-shirts. So on the back of the t-shirt, it says, you can opt out of the facial scan. People don't even realize it. I'm often the only person saying, no, I don't want to do it. So we've got to stand up against it where we can. You know, there's going to be digital IDs and more tracking of our money, how we spend it. Oh, sorry, you've bought enough beef for this month. You've eaten your allotment of red meat. That's what's going to be happening next. In California, rationing water, they've been doing that a long time, and then making you pay an inordinate amount if you go over however many gallons you're supposed to have. So that is happening. And people that are all into save the earth, not realizing you can't run out of water. It always recycles. I mean, it's bizarre, but they've been effective with the propaganda. How about telling neighbors to snitch on each other? This happened in the Mormon church incident. If you see something, say something, Governor Whitmer reminded everybody. Yeah, no. How about this inordinate focus on mental health? I'm not saying people talking to a caring person isn't helpful. I'm sure it's very helpful. What I'm saying is, why is the government behind it? The government should have zero to do with any of this, all right? Aside from the police and the fire department showing up to take care of things. And by the way, as someone else pointed out, what's all this thanking the first responders? As far as I can see, they didn't do anything. The people were still shot and the building burnt to the ground. So what exactly did these first responders do? And I mean, no disrespect to the honest, sincere, genuine ones. Actually, I have friends that work for, that are paramedics and firemen and policemen and all of that, or people that I know who are related to those professions. So I mean, no disrespect to them. What I'm saying is, what's with this calling them heroes in these situations where, as far as I can see, they didn't do anything? Pacific Palisades, how many houses were saved? Lahaina, how many houses were saved? And then they're held up as heroes, again, elevating authority over you. They're no better than you. I mean, if I've got a backed up pipe, I want a plumber. I would rather elevate the plumber. I mean, I don't care for this elevating one profession over another. So this focus on mental health and that the government is supposed to take care of it for you, that would also be a big NO. Are you going to end up on some list? You know what's going to happen next? Oh, we saw that you had an evaluation. You called this helpline, and I'm sorry, you're not going to get your guns back, or we're going to take your guns, or you're not able to have, we're going to take your children, or we're going to do a, what do they call it? A mental health check, or whatever they call it these days, where the government comes and checks on you. That would be another big NO. So I don't care for this narrative that's being pushed, that there's always some lone crazed gun nut that just randomly shoots at random people for no reason at all. Friends, you really think that's happening? Well, you might think it's happening because these stories crop up again and again and again and again. I'm not saying there aren't murders and killings, and you may even know someone that unfortunately was a victim of something like that. I do. I know more than one person that sadly was wrapped up in that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying the frequency and the mass incident aspect of it doesn't add up. How can I say that? Watch my previous videos and I lay it all out for you step by step by step by step. So I also don't care for this constant focus on the veterans as though every ex-Marine is somehow crazy. And what they're pushing for is that the veterans are not going to have guns. Gee, I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that veterans know how to use guns. They would know how to defend themselves and their family and maybe even their community. This is where you have to dig into it, friends. So I don't care for that, painting all of these veterans as mentally ill. So those are just a few that came to mind. Now, you know that the to-do list of the bad guys is very long, and they keep adding more agenda items to it. Those are a few that just came to mind. But, you know, these incidents are getting easier and easier to spot. The performance is so poor. They are mocking you. They're doing it on purpose. If it was really clever and deceptive, we wouldn't be able to see it. But they're leaving all of the clues out in plain sight. I do have to just share this picture with you once more because it's absolutely ridiculous. And so many people commented on this. And let me share this here for you. And I'll be wrapping up in a couple of minutes. But here's the truck, we're told, did this damage to the building. And somehow the guy rammed through a brick building, was able to get out of his truck and throw some kind of incendiary device to cause all of this burning of the brick building. And as I showed in the video that I did for you yesterday, the front grille isn't even damaged. I better get I think those are called rhino chasers. I better get one on mine. Somehow there's a really neat little pile of bricks here on top. Let's get the prop master, put some bricks on top of that cab to make sure it looks like it was in some kind of incident, even though it's pristine here all along the side of it. Nary a scratch. My car has more scratches from shopping carts in the grocery store parking lot. Who piled this little pile of bricks here so neatly? Where are the tire tracks? So what happened? The tow truck towed it out? You can just look at one picture. I don't even need to go any deeper into the story, and I know that it doesn't add up. But I go deep into these stories because some people may say, well, they'll dismiss that. So I come up with something else that I've seen, and I show the numbers, and I show the gestures, and I show the colors, and I show the fact that the newscaster happened to be a reality show TV producer who I guess couldn't make it in Hollywood because this is pretty bad production quality. So it's absolutely stunning to me, friends. A couple other things that I wanted to share with you. So I think recognizing these hoaxes, well, I can't say that word, recognizing this hogwash for what it is actually empowers you instead of leaving you feeling powerless. When you're powerless, you're going to be more willing to accept these things. I would rather notice and point out these things that don't add up and ask questions, even if I don't have the answers. I'm going to ask questions because then I can share this with other truth seekers, and together maybe we can get a little closer to what's going on here. But the basic thing I want to share with you is my opinion, my perspective, my view, and I think it's shared by many. Remaining silent in the face of evil is basically condoning evil. I can't stay silent when I see these things. I have got to point them out. And if you only are here because you want a religious exemption to not get a jab, go watch it. Why are you even on this channel? It cracks me up when people will sit and watch an entire video with content that they don't even like. Why are you even here? No one's making you do this. Go watch a gardening channel or a cooking show or something. It's ridiculous. I don't even spend time watching videos I don't like. God calls us to expose evil. And I also love to solve puzzles. And it brings me satisfaction when I can put the pieces together, connect the clots, as I say, speaking of the cooties, hogwash. And then when my hunches and instincts and my discernment is borne out, it's like, I am grateful for that. How about you? Now, there's something else that I just wanted to mention, and I will leave you with this. People will say, Peggy, why would they do this? Doesn't make sense. How can they all be in on it? Well, first of all, they don't all have to be in on it because, as you can see, everybody already bought it, hook, line, and sinker. You only need a few people to be in on it. And I would pose the question to you, why are they in on it? First of all, they may be CIA operatives, just like Elissa Slotkin, the new Michigan senator who is bankrolled by the anti-gun lobbyists. She was put into office to play the role, and it is a role, of anti-gun violence, as she calls it. You know how violent guns are. That's why I have to keep them locked up, kind of like cooties that might escape from the lab. Those guns might just escape if they're not locked up. So she happens to live right down the street from where this happened, and she's a CIA agent. Yeah, that's her whole background. She was in military intelligence, recruited by the CIA right out of school. It's right there. You don't think that's suspicious that in that little town of Grand Blanc, they have the active shooter training organization in a little town of 7,900 people? If I had time to do more research, I'd find out how many schools are there or businesses. You think they could keep busy? Well, they happen to be bankrolled by these anti-gun lobbies as well. Yeah, you could do some deep digging into that. And the same incidents that I believe are, let's just say, put together and produced by the anti-gun lobby, they all have the same footprint. They all have the same talking points, and they're just really poorly produced. So where do they get these actors? Well, some of them are actors, couldn't make it in Hollywood. Some of them actually believe in the cause. They believe so strongly that guns are violent and they're going to break out of that cabinet and just randomly start shooting at people, that they believe in it and they will do whatever it takes to stop the gun violence. Just think about a cause that you are dedicated to. You know, I'm very much in favor of animal rescue. And I'm not saying I would lie and cheat for it, because I wouldn't, but there are people that would lie, cheat, betray, deceive for something that they believe in. We haven't even talked about money. A lot of people would do things for money and fame. You see them get on TV and they have the duper's delight, like, oh, I'm in front of a camera. Oh, and I'm going to get a paycheck. But the other guy with the red Solo cup that looked like the principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, that was so funny, from Scott, made that comment, one of our Healthy Americans. And he looked so bored. I guess his paycheck wasn't big enough. The things that I look at when I look at these events, I look at the witnesses, and they're not credible. No rational person would respond like that. Well, Peggy, everybody grieves differently. Exactly. And they weren't grieving. That was the point. They were chuckling. They had a little light in their eye. One person said he could see the principalities in that one church elder's eyes. There was no humanity there, friends. And if you don't believe evil exists, it does. And evil takes over people, or they willingly go along with it. So there are evil people out there. There are people that were born into it. This is their cult. This is their belief. And they grew up with it. just to answer your question, why would they do it? Why wouldn't they do it? Is my question. People do it for ego, for power, for control, for money, for fame. Some people probably are blackmailed. They might have something on them and they had to do it. There might even be some criminals. Somebody told me about a movie which I need to see. Oh my gosh, I will have to bring that to you because I don't really watch movies, but this was with Bridget Fonda. And again, you can draw all your own conclusions about the performers in Hollywood. I already know my conclusions about the performers, and they are performing, if you know what I mean. However, the movie is about a criminal that is told that they have to perform some kind of role in order to get out of prison or have their sentence commuted or something like that. So think about it. Prisoners, criminals, if they can get out of jail or they have some kind of deal, why wouldn't they do that? And there are probably other reasons that I didn't even touch upon. So no, they don't all have to be in on it because people are so gullible, they fall for it anyway. And if you don't know about secret operations and the CIA and spies and false identities, and that's a real thing, friends. And the stuff that they're even showing us, I'm sure it goes much deeper than that, which is why I don't even think the Freemasons or the Illuminati are behind it. I think that it's all wrapped up in the occult and in evil, and there are probably so many layers that we don't even know. But it is true that many of the law enforcement officers are a part of Freemasonry, and it's a brotherhood, and they commit themselves to maintaining that secrecy and doing what the lodge requires of them. So that's something that I can surmise. I don't have anything more to say but that. So we already talked about faking the, I don't know if I can say that word either. We already talked about manufacturing these events, and they want to take away the guns. They'll call them gun safety laws. They'll call it common sense gun safety. Just like vaccine safety has a nice ring to it. We know that they want to reduce the population, right? Through the pharmaceutical drugs, the cocktails, abortion, birth control, the wars, all of the ways that they can stop people from living. Just look what they did during the cooties hogwash with your loved ones in the nursing homes and hospitals. And then I think we talked about the fear and the trauma, where traumatized people don't think clearly. Like I'm getting a couple emails and things from people that's like, they are operating out of fear. Nothing I say or show them will ever get through if they're operating out of fear, because fear hijacks the rational, logical thinking brain. And that's why the bad guys do that. They show all these images on TV. How many people do you think looked at that car like we did, that truck, and said, that's weird, there's no scratches on it. What's that pile of bricks doing there? Did a tow truck tow it out and leave it there? Why is there no yellow emergency tape? Can anybody go up and tamper with that evidence? Why hasn't it been impounded? How many people do you think are asking those questions? Well, you, my lovely, healthy Americans, are. You're asking even more, and I love hearing from you. The bottom line is the evildoers want to create their order out of the chaos that they also created. And when people are emotionally traumatized, it is so much easier to do that. I was actually kind of shocked that they were going to do like an assassination thing. I didn't figure that was going to be in the next script. I thought it was going to be another, health scare that probably is going to be coming soon as well. So basically it's the same old playbook, the same old script, the same old untalented actors. And we can just see it again and again. On Monday, I'm gonna give you the PSYOP checklist. I think, and email me what you think is on the checklist as well, and I'll include that for you. So, wrapping up, friends, I will have a video for you tomorrow, maybe even two. I might rebroadcast a couple of shorter excerpts from my longer videos. I know people don't sit through all the longer ones, and I want to replay that one about Trump calling Charlie a master builder, which is basically a synonym for a master mason, and all of the little things that I picked up about that. And more and more people are still asking me for more and more coverage of the Charlie Kirk incident. I know there is some fatigue setting in. So pretty much what we're seeing in these other things can be applied to it as well. But there are a couple of little things that I haven't heard other people talk about that I want to cover. So I'll be doing that as well as other things. I do want to talk about Pfizer. I don't really want to talk about it, but I will talk about Trump and Pfizer, the Tylenol scare again. And tomorrow I'll have a little bit different content for you about dealing with all of the stress and anxiety so that we can actually get a good night's sleep. Because when we are sleepless, and I know a lot of people are staying up riveted on social media, again, we're so much easier to control. All right, friends, wrapping up for now. Thanks again for being on board. I'll take a look at your comments. Let's see. Oh, okay. YouTube actually is showing me the video, which is great. And I do appreciate you being on board. A big shout out to Valerie, Rhonda, our moderators, being on board tonight. And I can see many of you say you don't watch the news either. And that's why we're here to support each other. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being on board. And I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's broadcast. And for those who are on my Substack who have sent a donation in any amount, even if you did it a year ago, I mean, I want to give back to you. Just email support@thehealthyamerican.org and we'll get you all lined up with that. All right. Take care, everybody. And I'll see you tomorrow.